there, Facebook world and YouTube world and internet world. You have stumbled right on in to Kari's Corner. Welcome. I am so happy to have you here. I'm so excited that you're here. So excited to share some tips and tricks with you about the English exam. We are really focusing on some great tips and tricks today in regards to that English exam. So if you are new to Kari's Corner, you know we always like to start with who are you? Where are you tuning in from? I always like to hear where our audience is tuning in from. Are you a nurse aide? Are you an RN? Are you new to Worldwide? Are you shopping around for any kind of nurse placement, direct hire facility? Tell us a little bit about who you are. And I'm telling you right now, if you are shopping around and you're trying to figure out where is the best place to help you continue and get your journey started for coming to the United States, then I'm telling you right now, Worldwide is the place for you. We have such a great team. We have amazing recruiters, case managers, relocation lawyers, all of it. And we work with a lot of the best clients out there here in the United States. So if you are shopping around and you're checking out Worldwide, this is one of the free things that Worldwide provides you. It's a free English language review course. So if you are an RN, if you are an RN and you are headed over to the United States and you have to take an English exam, right? Got to take that pesky English exam. So if you are one of those people, Worldwide provides a free English language review course just for you, brought to you by me, Kari's Corner. Looking at a lot of nurses. We got a lot of nurses. We got from Jamaica. We have Ghana, Saudi Arabia, Singapore, Kuala Lumpur, DaVita, and got an offer from DaVita in Oregon. Oh my goodness. Oregon is a beautiful state. Absolutely beautiful state. Good evening in Pakistan, Gambia. So if you're headed over to the United States, if you've already accepted an offer, let me know where you're headed to. Where are you going? That's always exciting for me. I love to see all the states of where people are going. I don't think we've ever placed anyone, and Tracy can correct me if I'm wrong. I think Wyoming is where we said. We haven't placed anyone in Wyoming. So who's going to be the first? Who's going to be the first nurse to go to Wyoming? That's a big state. It's a beautiful state. Every state here in the U.S. has something really unique to offer. So just like you in your home country, if I was to visit you, you would tell me all the beautiful things that your country has to offer. So I am excited that you're here. I'm excited to get started. Oh my gosh, you're in Ireland. All right, I'm officially jealous. Color me green, Ireland. I am green with envy. Definitely want to go to Ireland one day. Absolutely, just absolutely beautiful from what I hear. Watching in Tennessee. All right. I am very familiar with Tennessee. I've been there, driven through there, know all the things about Tennessee. Hello, a nurse from South Korea. Holy smokes. Look at all of this. This is crazy. I love hearing where everyone is from. So today, let's go ahead and get started with today's topic. And I think today's topic is actually going to be, not that they're not all beneficial, right? But I think today's topic is going to be especially beneficial, hello in Nigeria, for all the tests. And the Philippines, we love the Philippines. We love our Philippines team. We have a whole team located in Manila. But today's topic is noteworthy. And what I mean by noteworthy is taking notes during the exam, right? Taking notes during the exam. Most of the time when you sit down to take an exam, you don't think about taking notes during an exam, right? You think more of, well, notes are for preparatory work. They're for helping you prepare for an exam. They're for when you study. They're for when you're sitting in a lecture hall and you're at the university or college level. All of those places. That's where you think about taking notes. However, for those of you who have already taken and experienced an exam, you already know there's going to be times where you got to write things down, and you got to write them down quickly. So what I'm going to go over today is finding the best note-taking method for you. And the note-taking method that you used in high school or college or university, hello in Zambia, that note-taking method might not work for you for the test. So let's talk about a few things. But before I get started today, of course, we're going to talk about note-taking strategies and what not to do. But before any of that goes on, I am going to start a weekly student shout out, and I am really, really excited. Our shout out for this week is Maureen. And Maureen has been so kind. She is from the Philippines. She is headed to the state of Illinois. She passed the IELTS exam recently, and her highest scores were in speaking and listening, which is my favorite. I love to see high speaking and listening scores because obviously you have to be able to speak eloquently and you have to be able to speak appropriately so that you can communicate to all of look at that. I'm distracted by all the cool things that Tracy can do. A shout out to Tracy. He makes this show work. I'm telling you guys. I just stand here and talk. Tracy is the magic behind the scenes. But the reason I like to see such high listening scores is because, as I've talked about before, you've got 2 ears and 1 mouth. So you should be listening twice as much as you speak. So having amazing listening scores is really, really important. So her case manager is Mr. Jose Perez, who is also one of my favorites. Jose is so great. He's so diligent. He will work for you. So if Mr. Jose is your case manager, give him a shout out because he's truly stellar. He's awesome. But I just wanted to spotlight Maureen. She is one of the student successes she completed the 4-week program, and then she was able to find success on her IELTS exam. So shout out to Maureen. Hip, hip, hooray. Okay. Keep watching, keep tuning in because you never know. One day it could be you on the student shout out, right? That's the goal. Get to the student shout out. So as I've already mentioned before, you can take notes during every portion of the exam, every part of the exam. However, if you don't practice note taking, then this process will stress you out more than the exam does. This process of taking notes and writing down what they say and not having a structure, not really knowing, it's all chaos, it's chicken scratch all over your paper, and you're like, I have no idea where to start. That can stress you out more than the exam, or it can add stress to the exam. And that is the last thing we want to do. We do not want to add any more stress to the situation. So hopefully some tips and tricks today to make that exam situation a little less stressful. And a reminder that taking notes during an active test is very different than taking notes from in a university classroom setting. So let's go ahead and get started. And what I want to start with is just a little bit of kind of educational philosophy, educational psychology, if you will. There are 3 types of learners. You can really break all learning down into 3 major types. You have visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. Now, visual learners are those who learn best by seeing. You learn best maybe even just by seeing the words, reading the words, having some type of picture, right? Visual learners like to see it done. So for example, like my older brother, whom I love dearly, but he is visual to a fault. When he was learning to ride a bike, he would not get on the bike to ride it until he knew he could do it. And that involved watching other kids around him ride their bikes. So he learned best by visually watching someone do it. Okay? He's a visual learner. Auditory learners are those that have to listen. They can close their eyes and listen to step by step of how to put something together, or if you close your eyes and watch a YouTube video of how to do something, that's the best thing for them. They can then do it because they heard how to do it. They're listeners. Okay. Those types of learners, note taking is probably one of the more difficult things for them. And I like to talk about this. I used to talk about this when I was an active English teacher, and people would be taking notes during class. And some students would be like, oh, I don't know how to take notes. I've never taken notes, blah, blah, blah. So we talk about, if you're an auditory learner, sometimes notes can be a distraction for you and you miss a lot of the crucial things because your mind can't, you need to listen to really understand. So we're going to talk about a great note-taking device for those auditory learners out there. And then finally, shout out to my kinesthetic people. That is me. I'm very much kinesthetic. Kinesthetic learners learn best by doing. You have to be active. So if you've ever been in a staff meeting or you remember back to your university days, who out there, who are my doodlers? Who are the people who were drawing little pictures on their paper during the lecture? But if the professor ever called on you, you knew exactly what he was doing. You knew exactly what he was talking about, because that's how you stay attentive. I am one of those people that if I'm just kind of staring at you, I'm not really listening. I have to be actively like taking notes in order to really be listening. That's just part of how my brain works. It's how it's wired. So kinesthetic learners learn best by doing and keeping their minds engaged. So to develop and plan your technique, I'm going to go over 3 techniques today, one for each type of learner. If you're a visual learner, I'm going to talk about concept mapping. If you're an auditory learner, I'm going to introduce to you what's called the REAP method. It was developed in 1976 at the University of Missouri. And then the kinesthetic, for my kinesthetic people, the sentence note-taking method, which of course to my visual learners is going to be like, oh my gosh. But my kinesthetic people will be like, oh, that makes total sense. So identify your plan. And I'm going to say this multiple times. Identify your note-taking plan and stick to it. Practice it and stick to it. So let's get into this. Let's look at our next slide, which is looking at visual note takers. So obviously for my visual note takers, you see a nice, so this is called concept mapping. And this works really, really, really well for the listening portion of an exam, but especially for the speaking portion. And I know that again, note taking is not just when you're listening, right? Note taking is if you have to prepare something, right? This is a really, really, really great way to take notes, because for my visual learners, because it's nice, it's organized, the little bubbles, it's got, all the wonderful little things going on, right? So you identify the main topic, big bubble, right? And then you're going to identify at least 2 subtopic details, right? What are 2 things? The main topic may be archaeology, but let's say that they're talking about one dig in the Badlands, and then they're talking about another dig in Madagascar. I don't know. I don't even know if you can dig in Madagascar. But let's say that those are the 2 subtopics that they're talking about, is these 2 separate archaeological sites. And then within that, you may have, what did they found in the Badlands? Oh, they found a Tyrannosaurus Rex. What did they find in Madagascar? Oh, they found a really ancient bird. But by organizing those things and organizing these into these bubbles, it really helps my visual learners what's called conceptualize. That's why this is called concept mapping. Conceptualize. It helps you wrap your mind around what is going on. So especially in the listening portion of the TOEFL, where you're listening to conversations, you want to identify the main topic, and you want to identify 2 of the things that they're talking about. Maybe you could do 2 speakers. You could identify it as speaker 1 and speaker 2. Speaker 1, from there, you go into the supporting detail. What does speaker 1 say? Summarize what they think. What does speaker 2 say? Summarize what they think. That way, when you get to the section where they ask you the question, you can answer pretty much anything they throw at you, whether it be, what was speaker's 1 opinion on the topic? What was speaker's 2 opinion on the topic? What was the topic? You've got all of that conceptualized right there in front of you, beautifully organized, right? And these are things that they don't take very long to kind of draw out, right? It's just a big circle, write the main topic. This is not, what I love about this too, not complete sentences. Not complete sentences. You are not writing you would not write for main topic, archaeological dig occurring in 1972 in blah, blah. No. You just put archaeological dig. That's good. That's good. You're good. Okay. Your brain will remember the rest. Give your brain some credit. So you can use this, like I said, again, in the listening portion. Speaking IELTS Task 2, this is actually a really great way to organize your thoughts for Task 2. Let's say that your task card asks you to tell about your favorite phone app, right? And so for main topic, you're going to put Google Translate. Let's say Google Translate's your favorite phone app. And then give me 2 reasons. Why is Google Translate your favorite phone app? Because it's super easy to use and because it does a whole bunch of different languages. And then you can go on and tell an example of when it was really easy for you to use, convenient for you to use. And then talk about all the other languages that it opens doors to other countries that you can travel to without fear of not understanding or not being able to speak. So this is just a great way to organize and beautifully present. Finally, definitely, this is, as an English teacher, I mostly use this in writing. Prior to writing, when you sit down to write your extended responses, which you have to do that on every test has an extended response. I always recommend 5 minutes of pre-writing. And that's where you're taking notes on your paper. Organize your thoughts. If you just sit down and start typing away, a lot of times your response is going to come out disorganized. So by taking 5 minutes to take a breath, organize your thoughts, figure out how you want to answer this question, then sit down to write your response. Number 1, I bet you'll finish in faster time, believe it or not, because you won't have to sit there and go, what do I want to say next? What do I want to say next? You'll have it already figured out. Okay? Visual note takers. This one's for you. It's a great, great, great option. Next up, of course, I have what's called the REAP method, and this is for my auditory people. REAP stands for reading, encoding, annotating, and pondering. Reading, encoding, annotating, and pondering. And if you look at the graphic organizer that I have up here, it's really just 4 boxes, REAP, each one in a box. And for my auditory people, the purpose of this one is it's not meant for lots of movement, lots of note taking. You notice there's no pretty bubbles, there's no flow chart, there's none of that. It's just, this is for my auditory people to be able to write something down so they can recall it. So the first thing you do, and this is really helpful in reading, but you can read the text or listen, jot down the main idea of the selection. That's what goes on in the reading and encoding and what you're reading or listening to. Okay. Then in the encoding portion, you'll write down the main points in your own words. So that's part of the difficult thing with the auditory people is you have to process it. You can't just listen and expect to memorize it. You have to process it. So by using the R to write down, okay, what was the topic? And then using the E to talk about, to kind of put into your own words, what were the main things they talked about? Okay, he talked about grammar today. He talked about commas, talked about sentence structure. Just 3 little bullets, 2 or 3 little bullets as to, okay, what did they talk about? A is annotating and pondering. A would be a place for, especially in the listening portion, if they said something that really stood out to you, write that down. You know, if there was a disagreement between the two, write down disagreement between 2 people. If there is a big change happening on campus, that's something they like to talk about too. Big change happening on campus. What is the big change? P is actually, you can use this kind of more for your writing purposes. It's the only time you're going to get to P. But P would be, what questions do you have? P stands for pondering. So what do you have any other questions after listening to or reading that selection? So P is definitely more for not necessarily a test taking situation, but it's there. If you're writing, P is really great because it's okay to write down in the end. You know, let's say that you had to read an article and give a response to it, or they ask your opinion on something, and maybe you have some questions. You don't know a lot about what they're asking you to have the opinion on. So you can use that. Ask some questions as to, you know, they're talking about recyclable plastics. Okay, how much recyclable plastic is actually floating around in the ocean? I don't know. I can't answer that. But if that's a question you want to ask in your writing and it's relative to the topic, absolutely throw it in there. Totally cool. So that, again, that's the REAP method, and that's great for my auditory learners. All right. This one, like I said, for my visual people, even my auditory people, you're looking at this going, what just happened? Some of you may be looking at this going, oh, that's what I do. And it doesn't help me at all. Or some of you are looking at it going, yes, this is me. This works for me. Kinesthetic people, this is what's going to really work for you. Sentence note-taking method, right? No really cool fancy name. It is exactly what it says it is. Notice on the top, they put their topic. What's the main point? What's the topic? This can be a lot, but like I said, this is really good for kinesthetic learners who have to be actively doing something in order to actively be listening or engaged. I even do this with my reading. So in my fun, my leisure time, I like to read historical fiction. My favorite thing in the world is Henry VIII and his wives, and then of course Elizabeth I, his first daughter, not his first daughter, his second daughter. And I love reading about them. But there's so many names and so many dukes and barons and so many different titles that are given out, and who Henry likes at the moment and who he doesn't like at the moment. I have to take notes when I read. Like my husband's like, are you going to take a test on the book when you're done? I'm like, no, but I want to make sure I don't miss anything. So I always keep, and I'll show you this. Look at this right here. I always keep a notepad. Always. I have one on me at all times. So I make notes about when I read and about important people and important figures and all that kind of stuff. So, and it's you can even see, sometimes I have nice little doodles, but I'm mostly a sentence person. There's no big map or anything like that. It's sentences for me. I don't know if you could really see that, but that's what works for me. So that's what I talk about. Find what works for you. Quick handwriting for this is mandatory. You got to be able to write quickly. And it doesn't matter if it's chicken scratch, as long as you can read it, that's all that matters. So don't worry about making it very nice and neat and legible. You're not turning them in when you're done. So write it quickly. It can be applied to any section of the test. It's really, really, like I said, it's really great for kinesthetic learners because it keeps your brain engaged. And you're really just you don't want to write word for word what you hear, because if you do that, you are going to miss a lot of information. You just as they go along, one sentence summary of what you've heard, right? Or what you've read. One sentence summarize. As every paragraph goes, if you're reading anything like that, like a paragraph structure, write a one sentence summary of what that paragraph was. Paragraph 1, this. Paragraph 2, this. That will really come in handy when you have those questions that ask you to reorganize paragraphs, because you can look at your notes and you don't have to go back and read the entire paragraph. There's a lot of times where you have to reorganize paragraphs or label paragraphs, gives the right title to paragraphs. You may have actually written the title already in your own handwritten notes. You never know. So kinesthetic learners, this is a really, really, really great method for you. It's the one I use, but it's not for everyone. Try all 3. That's my advice to you today. My big advice to you today is try all 3. It may shock you which ones work for you. Even if you are a kinesthetic learner, you might like concept mapping. It might be more for you, especially during a test. So quickly, just some bad habits to avoid. Number 1, of course, is starting without a plan of action. If you sit down to take this test and you've never taken notes during a test, it's going to be all over the place and you're going to struggle. Have a plan of action. Practice your plan of action. Next is being distracted by social media. So if you're practicing at home, which you should be, use your phone as a timer. That's it. Those notifications that pop up, there's actually been psychological studies that when you get a notification on your phone, a little bit of dopamine is released in your brain. And you can't help but look at it. You can't help but be like, oh, what was that? It's probably nothing. It's probably nothing. Usually it's my husband telling me something random that happened during the day that has nothing to do with anything. Or one of my friends being like, haha, guess what? It's nothing that cannot wait until after you're done practicing. Okay? If you have do not disturb on your phone, put that on. Put that on your phone. Don't be distracted while you're practicing. Is it Missy? I don't know how to say your name. I'm horrible at names, but you like mapping. You're a concept mapper. I like that. I like that you know that that strategy works for you. But make sure you try other strategies too, just in case, because we want to get the best score, right? Keeping disorganized notes. That's starting with a plan of action. If you're all over the place and you go to sit down and answer a question, if you're on task 2 for IELTS and you've just got chicken scratch everywhere, you're going to sit there and say or a lot because you're searching through your notes. You don't know what to say. Organization will help eliminate a lot of those verbal pauses. All those things. Just doing what others have done before you. Holy smokes. We at every department of Worldwide have heard so many times, but this is what my friend did. No matter what phase of the immigration process they're at, whether you're in phase 1 and you are applying and you're going through recruitment, or you're in phase 10 and you're going through your embassy interview, wherever you are in the immigration process, so many times we hear, but this is what my friend did. News flash. You are not your friend. Nope. You are you. Your friend is them. Everyone's journey is different. You cannot compare your journey to your friends. As much as we would like to put everybody in a basket and say this is how it works for everyone, immigration is not a one-size-fits-all situation. It's different for everyone. It's customized for everyone. That's part of what makes Worldwide so great, is you have so many wonderful people who are familiar with all the ins and outs and all the customizations that are required with immigration. Studying for your test is the same thing. Just because an app worked for them, just because a note-taking method worked for them, doesn't mean it's going to work for you. You have to find what works for you. Okay. It's great to get advice from friends. You can ask them like, hey, what did you do on the test? Try it. Don't just go and pay $250 and go take the IELTS and then try it. No. Practice beforehand. The next thing is not learning from your mistakes. If you've taken the IELTS or TOEFL or whatever 4, 5, 6 times, and you're not making adjustments on how you study or how you take notes during the exam, that's the definition of insanity. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. It's not going to happen. You got to change up your tactics. Learn from your mistakes. Studying and practicing at the wrong place. Eliminate distractions while you're studying. Eliminate distractions. If you've got little kids, trust me, I know. I hear you. I'm a mom of 2. They are distracting little buggers. You might have to pull a late night and study when they go to bed. You might just have to explain to them. So a lot of times I'm able to work from home. And during the summertime, my kids are home too. But they know when my door's shut, mommy's working. Leave mommy alone. Might have to set some boundaries. I have to do that with my husband as well. Like, let's lump him in with the kids. Okay. I have to tell my husband, honey, I'm working. The door is shut. Please leave me alone. Love my husband. But you've got to be able to set those boundaries and eliminate those distractions while you study. You really do. And having music on while you study, that's not a proven method to work. Having the TV on while you study, not a proven method to work. Eliminate distractions. And finally, making excuses. We are all so good at that, right? But John Taffert, he makes a show called Bar Rescue, and he has a saying, and it's called, I don't embrace excuses. I embrace solutions. Don't make excuses for why you failed. Figure out why you're struggling. Why are you failing? What is going on? What can you do differently to help yourself find success? Don't just keep going back to the same thing and saying, it's just a really hard test. Yep, it's a hard test. You're right. But you're a nurse. You're a nurse. You save people's lives. Don't discredit all the amazing things that you're able to do and be defeated because a test is hard. Are you really going to let this test stand in your way of being in America and helping us over here in our crazy healthcare system? Absolutely not. Try different things. Try different methods. This test is different than anything you've taken at the university level. They're all different. Try different things. Don't make excuses. Don't say, well, I can't study today because I'm just tired and I worked really hard, or I pulled a double shift. I can't. You've got 15 minutes to practice speaking in English, to read something, to listen to something in English. You've got 15 minutes. I know you do. Okay? So those are bad habits to avoid. That's my TED talk for the day on bad habits to avoid. But that's it. That's all the note-taking kind of tips and tricks that I have for you today. Hopefully one of those methods is something that you can find success with as you are taking notes during your English exam. If you're working for the IELTS, the TOEFL, the PTE, the OET, the MET, all the T's. Do not forget, if you have already applied with Worldwide HealthStaff Solutions and you're working with an assigned case manager, please let them know if you're not already enrolled and you would like to be enrolled in our free class. I'm getting ready to start a new class next week. Next week starts a new class. So if you are an RN, this is for RNs, the nurse aid program. We had to push pause. I'm so sorry, nurse aides. I'm working on it. I know I'm working on it. I'm going to get it out to you, I promise. But for our RNs, if you are a Worldwide HealthStaff Solutions member, you have a case manager, reach out to them. Let them know. Dennis is confessing over here a bit to being distracted by social media. And you're preparing for your NCLEX and your IELTS. Wow, Dennis, buddy, you got to turn off the social media. I don't know which one you're on. Social media it sucks you in. I don't care if it's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. It's like once you start scrolling and then the most random things come up and you find yourself watching otters hugging each other at 2:00 in the morning. And you're like, how did I end up here watching otters hug at 2:00 in the morning when you could have spent that time doing something else? So use social media as a reward. Sometimes that's what I have to do. Like I'll tell myself, no, you can't check it. You can't get on there. You can't mindlessly scroll until you've done this. So make yourself study for 30 minutes. Unless you're watching Kari's Corner. I just saw that. Then it's helpful. Yay! Kari's Corner is. Yeah, we like to think that it's helpful. But this doesn't count as practicing. This just counts as fun tip time with Kari. But social media can steal your time. So make sure you use that as a reward. Say, I get 15 minutes on social media, or set a timer. Hold yourself to it. It's really easy. If you have children, it's really easy to set a timer for your kids and hold them accountable, right? Be like, no, I told you 5 minutes in the bath and then you're out. But for us, if we set a timer for ourselves, we're like, nah, no, 5 more minutes, I'm good. Disciplining ourselves is really, really hard, really hard. So you can do it. I 100% believe in you. You have the big thing that I want you guys to know is you're not alone. You have a massive team supporting you, cheering you on at Worldwide. We are so excited for you. We are so thankful for you and for the work that you're doing and the work that you will continue to do. Other than that, that's going to wrap it up for another Kari's Corner. I just want to thank you guys so much for tuning in today. Hopefully, again, I was able to give you some information. I was able to share with you some tips and tricks on taking notes for the exam. But I am so, so, so thankful for you. I'm so thankful. Yes, Patrick, this is recorded. It is on our YouTube channel. It is on multiple Facebook channels, Ron Hoppy's page, Worldwide HealthStaff's page, HRPC's page. It stays on there. So yes, this is recorded. And then one person asked when class time was, what day, and the class. The class that I've organized, the 4-week class, is a self-paced class. I designed it specifically for nurses because I know you guys, getting you guys all together at one time, that just ain't working. It would not work. There's no way. We're dealing with literally a world full of nurses. So the class, once you are enrolled, it's 4 weeks, and you complete it on your own time. It's all the lectures are done by me and they're pre-recorded. So you watch it, whenever you have time. All of the lectures, they're 20 minutes or less. Most of them are, I think, 10 minutes or less. There may be one or two that's 20 minutes, but it's 4 weeks long. You have 4 weeks to complete it. But a lot of your worldwide friends have found success in the program. And I give you personal feedback on all the things that you turn in. So I look at it, I give you feedback on it. And I love it. I love this class. I absolutely love working with the people in this class and hearing feedback on how it's going. So thank you guys again. Tanya, we definitely look forward to welcoming you and all of our worldwide nurses over to the United States. But as a friendly reminder, don't face the corner, face the world with Worldwide. Over and out. Have a great day, everyone.